All right, strap yourselves in, because today we are going deep into the world of Shou.
TikTok CEO.
You got it, the CEO of TikTok.
Is he a visionary?
Yeah.
Is he a tech genius leading us into like a bold new digital world?
Right.
Or is he a master manipulator? Kind of expertly leveraging global anxieties to build up his own empire.
Yeah, grifter or gifted? I mean, that's the question, right? That's what we always ask.
That's what we're here to figure out.
That's the deep dive.
And what's so interesting about Shou is that his story really embodies this tension.
Yeah.
We're at this point in time where the line between true innovation and exploitation, it could be so thin.
Yeah.
And Shou seems to be dancing right on that edge.
We've got a ton of articles here.
Yeah.
News reports, congressional hearings, even some opinion pieces from both sides.
All over the place.
It's interesting is you've got this app, TikTok. I mean, you're probably scrolling through it right now.
Yeah, who isn't?
But at the same time, there's this unease.
Supposedly. About where is all that data going?
Yeah. And what is the Chinese government doing with it?
Right, exactly.
And that's what makes Shou such a fascinating figure to really look at.
Okay.
To understand this guy, we have to go deeper than just those headlines,
Right.
Like, for instance, did you know that he actually started out as an intern at Facebook?
No way.
Yeah.
So from fetching coffee for Zuckerberg to being in the hot seat in Congress.
Yeah, that's a wild ride.
Right. What a journey.
It is.
Gonna hit a leap.
And then, get this, after Facebook, he became the CFO of Xiaomi.
Xiaomi.
The Chinese tech giant,
Yeah.
They were growing globally like crazy.
Right.
He was part of making them a real player in the smartphone market.
Okay.
So clearly he's got this knack for scaling businesses.
Right.
And navigating complicated international situations.
He had this crash course in both Western and Eastern tech.
Picking up all this knowledge that he could then use for TikTok.
One of the articles pointed out that both Facebook and Xiaomi, they're known for, playing hardball.
Yeah.
Aggressive growth.
Right.
Facebook obviously became this massive social media thing.
Right.
And then Xiaomi, they just disrupted the smartphone industry with their affordable but good devices.
Right.
And Shou was right there in the middle of it all.
Okay.
So it's not like he's afraid to, push the boundaries.
Push the limits.
Exactly.
All right. So he learns the ropes at these super high growth companies.
Yeah.
Then ends up the top dog at TikTok, this platform that's blowing up.
Exploding.
But also getting a lot of attention, especially here in the U.S.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And then things get really intense in 2023.
Oh, yeah.
When he gets called to testify before Congress.
That congressional hearing was a defining moment.
Yeah.
Both for Shou and for TikTok. The lawmakers were grilling him on everything. I mean, everything.
Data security. Content moderation.
Content, yep.
The whole China thing.
Yeah, potential for the Chinese government influence.
Huge stakes.
Huge. It really felt like how he handled this could, make or break the company's future here.
One article called it a trial by fire for Shou.
Ooh, I like that.
Trying to defend TikTok against being, accused of being a tool for the Chinese Communist Party.
Yeah, some serious accusations were flying around.
Yeah, and really high stakes.
Oh, for sure.
The article actually quoted a Republican, Kathy Rogers,
okay,
who straight up called TikTok a weapon.
Wow, a weapon.
That the Chinese government could use to manipulate Americans.
That's some heavy stuff.
So how did Shou respond to that? I mean, wow, a weapon, that's a strong word.
It is. He was trying to walk this fine line,
right.
Acknowledging the security concerns, national security, all that.
Right.
But he was adamant that TikTok operates independently, that they don't share data with the Chinese government.
Right, and he brought up Project Texas.
Yes.
Their plan to store all U.S. user data on servers here in the U.S.
Owned and managed by Oracle.
Right. An American company.
Yeah. So was Project Texas, enough?
Yeah. Was it enough to convince lawmakers that TikTok was on the level?
Well, it was kind of a mixed bag.
Okay.
And this is where that, grifter or gifted question really gets interesting. Because some experts were like, even with the Oracle servers, there are still vulnerabilities.
Right.
I read this one article, this cybersecurity specialist was quoted saying, even if the data's here, the algorithm, which is what decides what users see, that's still controlled by ByteDance, TikTok's parent company in China.
Okay, yeah.
And that algorithm is the brain of the app.
Right.
So the Chinese government could still potentially influence what Americans see on their feeds.
So even with Project Texas, there are still questions about how much control the Chinese government might have over TikTok.
Absolutely.
Which brings us to the whole debate about banning the app.
Oh, yeah.
Here in the U.S.
Remember all that.
A lot of talk about a ban. Even went to the federal courts.
It did.
Arguments for the ban were all about the data security, the national security that we've been talking about.
Some lawmakers were saying it was the only way to protect American users from, potential Chinese government access.
But there were strong arguments against a ban, too, weren't there?
There were. Yeah. And those were really interesting because they highlighted TikTok's cultural and economic impact.
Right, yeah.
Some people said a ban would, violate freedom of speech.
Okay.
Set a dangerous precedent for restricting other foreign company, apps, websites.
Okay.
And then you had all those TikTok creators.
Right.
Some who, depend on the app for their livelihood.
Yeah.
They were rallying to keep it going.
So it became, part of American culture.
Yeah.
It wasn't just a tech company.
Right.
It would disrupt people's lives, their careers.
Precisely.
Wow.
And that's what makes Shou's position so tricky.
Right.
He's not just protecting a business. He's trying to navigate, geopolitics, user expectations.
Yeah. And cultural anxieties.
That's a lot.
Okay, so we've got this CEO who knows how to make companies grow really fast. And now he's leading this company that everyone is watching.
Under a microscope.
Even threatening to ban.
Yeah.
That's got to be stressful.
A lot of pressure.
But who is Shou on a personal level?
Well, that's where things get even more interesting.
Okay.
He's originally from Singapore.
Okay.
Studied at, these top universities in the UK and the US.
Right.
And get this, he's married to Vivian Cao.
Oh, I've heard of her.
Yeah, a super successful businesswoman herself.
Yeah.
So he's this global citizen, fluent in different cultures and languages, and that background definitely shapes how he runs TikTok.
He's like a symbol of globalization.
In a way, yeah.
Leading this app that's become a global phenomenon.
But that globalization is also what's causing him so much trouble.
Oh, interesting.
He's trying to bridge East and West.
Right.
But the political climate, it's making that bridge look pretty shaky.
All right, so we've talked about the background.
Yeah.
The stakes.
The pressure.
And the man himself. But we still need to answer the big question.
The big one.
Is Shou a visionary innovator or a clever con artist?
Grifter or gifted?
Is he trying to build a platform for connection, for creativity?
Yeah.
Or is it all a power play?
Is it all about profit?
Right.
It's a tough one.
And to try and figure that out, I think we need to look at his congressional testimony.
Definitely.
Because that's where he really had to, lay out his vision for TikTok.
Yeah, he was in the hot seat.
Convince those lawmakers he wasn't just a puppet of the Chinese government. Yeah, let's break down some of the key moments from that hearing.
Okay.
And see if we can figure out the man behind the words.
Let's get into it.
Yeah.
One of the things that really stood out to me about Shou's testimony was how he framed the whole issue.
Oh, interesting.
He didn't just focus on the technical stuff like data security or, the legal reasons why a ban wouldn't work.
Okay.
He really leaned into the emotional side of things.
Okay, I'm listening.
Highlighting the positive impact of TikTok on America.
Oh, I see what you mean.
How it brings people together.
Right.
Fosters creativity.
Right.
Supports small businesses even.
I mean, it was he was reminding everyone that behind all the algorithms and the politics, there are actual people, real people using this app. Their lives are intertwined with it.
Exactly. And one article even mentioned how he shared stories from, TikTok creators, people whose careers, whose communities were built because of this app. It was smart, especially considering how much, our political world is driven by emotions and personal stories.
It's like he was trying to humanize TikTok.
Yeah.
Make it more than just some faceless company with connections to China.
Right. And that's what makes this whole grifter or gifted thing so tricky.
Yeah.
Is he being genuine?
Right.
Is he really concerned about TikTok users?
Right.
Or is it all just a PR stunt?
Yeah, to protect himself, to deflect criticism.
Right. It makes you wonder.
It really does. I mean, and it's a question each user has to answer for themselves.
I think so.
Are the risks worth it?
Yeah.
Because you like the app.
Because you see the good in it?
Right.
Or are those risks just too big?
No matter how fun it is, how useful it is.
Yeah, and this dilemma, it goes beyond just TikTok,
Right.
It's about figuring out how to navigate a world where technology and politics are so intertwined.
Yeah.
We're all just trying to figure out who to trust in this digital world.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Where's the line between, like, something new, something fun,
Yeah,
and manipulation,
It's getting harder and harder to tell.
Yeah, it's like we're all playing this game of spot the grifter, but the stakes are high.
Oh, yeah, our privacy.
Our data.
Maybe even our democracy.
And while we're trying to figure all this out, Shou's out there,
He's very public-facing.
Yeah, in the spotlight.
A lot of the articles mention how he's doing all these interviews.
Oh, yeah.
Posting on TikTok himself.
Right. It's very different from other tech CEOs.
Yeah, the ones who kind of hide in the shadows.
Yeah.
He's trying to be the relatable CEO, the guy who gets it.
The one who actually uses the app.
But it's risky.
Yeah, the more you're out there, the more people are watching, the more they can criticize you.
Exactly. It's a tightrope walk, for sure.
So, on the one hand, being visible could build trust, make TikTok seem more open.
Right.
But everything he says, everything he does is under a microscope.
Yeah, and you can't forget his background.
Right, Singapore, UK, the US.
Leading a Chinese company but operating globally?
He's the definition of globalization.
In a way.
But he's also the face of all the anxieties that come with it.
I read this one article that called him...
Oh, let's say.
A man caught between worlds, trying to balance, his global upbringing with all the political stuff going on.
It's like that tension is built into how he leads.
Yeah. He wants to be a smart businessman,
right,
but also, like, a cultural ambassador.
Can he do both?
That's the question, isn't it?
And then there's the elephant in the room.
Uh-oh.
The potential for the Chinese government to be involved.
Yeah.
No matter what he says, how much he tries to separate TikTok from China. That suspicion is always going to be there.
And it's understandable. China has a history of using tech for surveillance, for control.
Right.
So even if Shou's intentions are good, even if he wants to protect users,
right,
you have to wonder, is he really in control?
Or is he answering to someone else?
To the Chinese Communist Party. It's a valid question.
So he's constantly being judged, not just on what he does, but on what the Chinese government does.
And what they might do.
Even if he has no control over it.
Right. That's a tough position to be in.
It's like he's representing both sides of our grifter or gifted debate.
Interesting.
He's got the vision, he's charismatic, he gets the global world.
Yeah.
But he's also working within a system that's, not transparent.
And potentially manipulative.
So where does that leave us on Shou?
That's the million-dollar question.
Visionary leader building bridges.
Or a shrewd operator using those global fears for his own gain.
Yeah. I mean, what do you think?
Honestly, I think the evidence points both ways.
Both ways.
Yeah, he's definitely a brilliant guy. He knows the tech world. He's good at handling complicated situations.
Right.
But there are red flags.
Yeah.
That connection to the Chinese government, it's always there.
Looming over everything.
Exactly. It's a shadow.
It's almost like he's embodying both sides of grifter or gifted.
Maybe that's the point.
He's got the vision, the charisma, the global perspective.
Yeah.
But the system he's in, it's murky.
It's hard to see clearly.
And that's the challenge for all of us.
It is.
How do we tell the difference between real innovation and just manipulation?
Yeah.
How do we hold these powerful people accountable when the lines are so blurred?
That's the million-dollar question.
It's not just about Shou.
It's not.
It's about all the tech leaders, the influencers, everyone shaping our online world. How do we make sure they're using their power the right way?
Ethically?
Yeah.
I don't think there's an easy answer.
Okay.
But I do think it starts with us being aware.
Okay.
It's not enough to just read headlines.
Right.
We need to dig deeper,
okay,
understand how these algorithms actually work,
right,
what data they're taking, how they're using it.
It's like we need to become digital detectives.
Aha, a little bit.
Looking for clues,
Questioning everything.
Yeah, but where do you even start?
I know, right? There's so much information out there.
It's overwhelming.
It can be. You have to think critically.
Okay.
Don't just believe everything you see.
Right.
Get different perspectives. Check your sources.
Right.
And be careful of anyone who says they have all the answers.
Good point.
And don't be afraid to ask questions.
Oh.
Challenge the assumptions, push back, demand transparency.
From the companies, from the government.
From everyone.
We need to take back control.
I agree.
It's easy to just scroll, to just consume.
It is.
But we have a choice.
You do.
We can choose what we use, what data we share, what stories we believe.
That's powerful.
Right. It's about taking control of the conversation.
Not just being passive.
Yeah.
We're not just users. We're citizens.
Right.
We have a say in how this digital world is built.
So bringing it back to Shou and TikTok.
Yeah.
What's the takeaway here?
What should people be thinking about?
As they're scrolling, as they're thinking about downloading it or deleting it.
I think the biggest takeaway is that this whole grifter or gifted thing, it's not always black and white.
Right.
Sometimes it's both.
Okay.
And sometimes maybe it's not even the right question.
Oh.
Instead of trying to, put people into these neat boxes, we need to look at the systems, the power dynamics that are running things.
Just structures, yeah.
Be aware that people can be manipulative, but also be open to the idea that there can be real progress, real innovation.
Yeah, it's a tough balance.
It is.
And we're all figuring it out together.
That's the reality.
Well said.
Thank you.
This deep dive has definitely given me a lot to think about.
Good.
And I hope it has for you too, listening out there.
I hope so.
This conversation doesn't end here.
It doesn't.
It's up to all of us to keep learning.
To stay engaged.
To keep pushing for a better digital world.
More transparency.
More fairness.
More accountability.
Yeah.
Because the future of the internet, it's not decided by some CEO in Silicon Valley or some politician in Washington.
Right. It's decided by us.
By the choices we make every day.
So choose wisely.
Absolutely.
It's like we're always trying to catch up.
Yeah.
Trying to understand the rules of a game that keeps changing.
That's a perfect way to put it. Like, we've got this amazing technology, so powerful.
Yeah.
But we're still trying to figure out how to use it.
Right, right.
And while we're doing that, people like Shou, they're already way ahead.
They're writing the next chapter.
Exactly.
So how do we catch up? What can we actually do?
Right.
It's easy to feel helpless,
I know what you mean.
Against these huge tech companies and the governments trying to control them.
Well, it's not easy.
No.
But I think the first thing is to stay informed.
Okay.
And I don't just mean like reading headlines.
Right.
You got to really dig in.
Okay.
Understand how these algorithms work, what data they're collecting, how they're using it.
It's like being a detective, right?
Kind of, yeah. Looking for clues, being skeptical.
But where do you even begin?
It's tough. There's so much information out there.
It can be overwhelming.
You have to think critically.
Okay.
Don't just take things at face value,
Right.
Look for different points of view, check your sources.
Mm-hmm.
Don't trust anyone who says they have all the answers.
That's good advice.
And ask questions. Don't be afraid to challenge assumptions, push back, demand transparency.
From the companies, from the government.
From everyone.
It's about taking back control.
Exactly. It's easy to just scroll, to just consume.
It really is.
But we have power. We have a choice.
We do.
We can choose what platforms to use, how much data we share, what narratives we believe.
We get to decide.
Yeah, we have a voice.
Right. It's about taking control of the conversation.
Not just being led along.
Not just being passive.
Exactly.
We're not just users. We're citizens.
We are.
We have a say in this.
Absolutely.
So when it comes to Shou and TikTok, what's the bottom line?
What should people be taking away from this?
When they're scrolling, thinking about downloading it, or even deleting it, what should they consider?
I think the big takeaway is that this grifter or gifted question, it's not always a simple answer.
Right.
Sometimes it can be both.
Okay.
And sometimes maybe it's not even the right question to be asking.
Oh, interesting.
Instead of trying to put people in boxes,
Right. Good or bad, grifter or gifted.
Yeah. We need to look at the bigger picture.
The systems.
The systems, yeah.
The power.
How it's all connected.
Be aware that people can manipulate.
Definitely.
But also be open to the idea that good things can happen.
That innovation is possible.
Yeah. It's a tricky balance.
It is.
And we're all figuring it out as we go.
That's the truth.
Well said. This has given me a lot to think about, that's for sure.
Me too.
And I hope it's done the same for you listening.
I hope so.
The conversation doesn't stop here.
It doesn't.
It's on all of us to keep learning, keep asking questions, keep pushing for better.
A better digital world.
More transparency, more fairness, more accountability.
Because the future of the internet, it's in our hands.
It really is. It's our choices that shape it.
So choose wisely.
Choose wisely? Couldn't have said it better myself. That's it for this deep dive, folks. Thanks for listening.